This export terminal is one of the world's biggest outside China. It is being built in Brazil, just outside São Paolo, by the Chinese state agricultural giant Cofco.
At the cost of $285 million, it could spell the loss of billions of dollars in revenue for American farmers.
Here's why. Beijing has spent hundreds of billions of dollars on American agricultural products over the last decade, making China one of the top markets for American farmers.
We'll be discussing trade.
In 2018, Washington introduced the first tranche of tariffs on China, and Beijing retaliated with tariffs of its own. But the dip in trade was short-lived, and China's demand for American agricultural produce recovered and even boomed in the following years. But the fallout from the first trade war left Beijing looking for other suppliers. Rich in beef, raw materials and crops, Brazil has become the #1 food supplier to China, overtaking the US. Brazilian agricultural exports to China reached a record high of around $60 billion in 2023. But thanks to this port in southeastern Brazil, that relationship is set to become even more lucrative. In 2024, the port of Santos handled a record 180 million tons of cargo, of which more than half was agricultural goods, such as corn, sugar, and Brazil's key export, soybeans. Brazil's soybean exports are worth over $50 billion, and about 30% of that trade passes through Santos, mainly on its way to China. But the port can hardly keep up. Today, more than 90% of the port's capacity for exporting agricultural bulk goods is in use, according to logistics consulting firm Macroinfo. That's why Cofco is building this export terminal here at the port. The state agricultural giant hopes to expand its capacity for exports from 4.5 million tons to 14 million tons, bringing billions of dollars in revenue. But in the US, farmers worry that this increase could be achieved at their expense. Trump's first trade war led to more than $27 billion in losses of agricultural exports, according to USDA research.
We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal.
Since Trump's return to office, China has found itself under renewed pressure, and American farmers are bearing the brunt. Export data in April showed China was already cutting back on US soybean purchases. It has also reduced the amount of pork it plans to import in 2025. As Trump urges Beijing to quadruple its purchases of American soybeans in a bid to reduce the trade deficit, the expansion of the port will allow China to buy even less from the US. The Santos port fits into Beijing's wider plan to access South America's agricultural bounty as China suffers from a lack of water and arable land at home. Chinese companies are laying hundreds of miles of railroad across Brazil's agricultural heartland. And they're even planning an ambitious rail project to link those regions to China's $3.5 billion megaport in Peru. This nearly 3,000-mile-long railway could shorten export times from Brazil to Asia by up to 10 days, according to China's state media. Still in its early stages, this would be an unprecedented endeavor for the continent. But while this booming relationship with China promises billions of dollars in revenue, there is a threat for Brazil.
Brazil is now facing one of the fastest processes of deindustrialization in the world. Over recent years, Brazil has increased its exports of raw materials to China, while China has shipped manufactured goods to Brazil. That's had a devastating impact on Brazilian factories over recent years, leading to job losses and a reduction in manufacturing as part of the country's GDP.
The new terminal in Santos threatens to further contribute to the country's growing deindustrialization. For a while, it looked like Brazil would be a rare winner in Trump's trade war. It was going to export more agricultural goods to the US and to China, as both countries were locked in a bitter dispute over trade. But recently, Trump imposed a 50% tariff on many Brazilian goods.
That's one of the highest in the world, and it's partially linked to a criminal case here in Brazil against the former right-wing president Jair Bolsonaro. He is on trial for allegedly plotting a coup in the country in 2022. He is one of Trump's closest allies, and Trump has said the case is a witch hunt against the right in Brazil. The Brazilian government understands that this increase in tariffs is a way to pressure the government and the courts to drop the case against Jair Bolsonaro, but they've made it very clear that that's not going to happen.
China is already Brazil's biggest trading partner, but the increase in tariffs from the US and Cofco's new terminal are likely to push them even closer together.